Hi, my name is Kevin Andrew, and I'm the co-director of Alumni and Student Connections at PLU. Today, I am joined by PLU alum Kenzie Gandy. Welcome, Kenzie.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. To start our conversation, please tell us about yourself.
Yes, so I am a very recent alumni of PLU, class of 2020, so only a couple months ago, graduated into this pandemic and all this craziness. But in my time at PLU, I was a business major with a minor in sociology, and was involved in a number of things, but I was in ASPLU as diversity director. I did some work and spend a lot of time in the diversity center. What else? Was a part of the collective early on in my time at PLU. Spent some time in the admissions office. So yeah, I've had some experience in a whole bunch of places, but yeah, class of 2020.
Wonderful, and congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you.
As a recent PLU graduate, how did you research organizations to find out what the company is doing to promote racial and social justice?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what I like to do is to research the company and go to their website. And a lot of the times they'll have mission statements and or value statements that can tell you a lot about where that company stands. And then I also like to look at the founders of the organization or look at who their team is, and seeing either what their racial makeup is of that team, and also if they have biographies for those people, what values do they hold, what is their background, because that can say a lot about how they might show up in the workplace. And sometimes that stuff isn't necessarily explicitly in their value or mission statement, but if you see it coming up in the backgrounds of the people that are working there, that can also kind of give you a good idea. So yeah, I like to click around and just see what kind of language they're using. Even their pictures that they're using can sometimes tell if it's pictures of themselves or is it stock photography, which either one is fine, but either way, what kind of faces do they want other people to see on their website when they come visit it are some good ways to do that.
That's great advice. And then do you also, in this process that you've been doing, have you been checking in with other people about the organization, if they know anything?
Yes, so actually I recently was hired for a job with an organization that does diversity and equity training for different, they can come to universities or come to different places of business, but they do training for people. And so that was, I mean, based off the nature of their work, that told me a lot, but also I was put into contact with this organization through someone who worked at PLU who I knew and had worked with. And so I was able to, through that connection, know that, okay, if they are co-signing on it and they know, and they support the work that they're doing, then that makes me feel a lot better about knowing that what I'm seeing through my research, I can confirm with someone else who has done work with them in the past. So yeah, I would definitely say if you know someone that has worked with an organization or has is just aware of what they do, then yeah, definitely follow up and ask and see, just cross-reference with what you're finding and seeing if it aligns with what that person has known to be the case.
Thank you. Kenzie, how would you like to see it being actualized in the organization? So you've done this searching on the website and you've checked with your personal network and things like that. But what is the important thing to actually see it actualized?
Yeah, so that can look a lot of different ways, just given the nature of what an organization is that you're looking at or looking into, but it can look a lot of different ways. So for example, if they're a type of organization that offers training services like mine, for example, and I'll just say that this is what they do or don't do because I'm not sure because I'm early on into it. But for example, it could be something where they're offering a service and they may give a discount to people within a certain demographic because they want to make sure that as many people from that demographic can come as possible, recognizing that there's different barriers in place for different groups of people. So that can be a way. So it's not that well, we say that we want these people to have these access to resources, but then don't acknowledge when those resources can't be accessed because of X, Y, or Z. And so if you're working to remove those things, then that's a step in the right direction. Another way could be looking at what kind of benefits they offer. That might not be something that aligns quite with, well, there's some holidays and things that might be, they want to give time off for certain groups of people that want to recognize that might not be as widely known. So that can be a way, or even looking things like maternity leave is seeing where their values lies is important. So looking at some of the back end stuff that might not seem as obvious, but that can really be telling. And also even asking them how, if you're in an interview, asking them, I see that you say you value X, Y, or Z on your website. Can you tell me how you all are working to actualize that? And then based off their response, does that sit right with you? Does that not sit right with you? That can be a way. So yeah, those are some of the things that I think would be good to look for. And then also putting that question back on them is important, because that might not even be something that they've thought of. And that's a way for them to, you're kind of waking them up to say, okay, well, actually, how are we doing that?
Thank you. And you kind of led into my next question about, during an interview, how do you go about approaching to ask about these things? So that was a great tip there. Is there any other questions you've used or the approach you've used in the interview? And maybe it's an interview not only externally, but also advice that may be on campus, that students doing on-campus employment, it might help them as they go through that interview process.
Mm-hmm. I think, because I mean, you can ask the question in multiple ways. You could talk kind of around it and allude to the fact that you really want to get to know about how they handle and deal with diversity, or you could be really explicit and say, these are my identities. This is where I lie in terms of my values, and this is something that's really important to me. So I want to be very clear that this is a priority for me, and just name it, and asking how do you handle diversity? Do you value it? I see it's on your website, but can I get kind of more behind the scenes, maybe a day-to-day type feel for it? But I think just asking it explicitly and making it clear, because that also makes it, the more clear that your question is, the more clear of an answer that you're going to get. So if you're kind of tiptoeing around it, they might tiptoe around the answer, and then you might come out and say, well, I'm not really sure if they really answered my question or if I even asked the right one. So being very clear on what it is that you're asking about. And also I would say, not necessarily staying away from buzzwords, but making sure that if you are going to use a buzzword and you say diversity or you say inclusion, those can be interpreted and understood in different ways. And so also sharing kind of, if you do use a certain term, maybe sharing some context as to, okay, for me, this is what I mean when I say this. So can you please speak to these things? So that could be a helpful way, because sometimes, language is sometimes not always as universal as we might think it is. So just, being very clear with what you are asking and making sure that they know what it is, that the kind of response that you're looking for.
That's great advice. And I really like the idea of naming it and being specific. I think that's wonderful wisdom.
Mm-hmm. And since PLU, that can easily be done, because especially in an on-campus job, when community members kind of have shared language, you might think that like someone might automatically already know, but even in an on-campus position, I would still say that's really important. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, Kenzie, thank you so much for this conversation and these amazing insights. I really appreciate it.
You are so welcome.
And congratulations again on graduation and on your new career position.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.